At a high level, the game is the most important piece. And in a first-person shooter, you can only tell so much story in a game. And so we line up all of our fiction for everything, whether it be comic books or novels or short stories. We decide what story we're telling in the game, and then what supportive pieces do we need. When I first started 343, I was very much of the mind that a movie was the right direction to go. And then when you think of where premium television is right now, it became more interesting for us to think about how do we look at something like Game of Thrones, where you can actually tell an epic story over several hours versus just 90 minutes. That became a lot more appealing to us. So at this point, we are focused on more of a premium TV type of thing versus a movie. But a movie is never out of the picture. I think all of us would love to have that. I think the industry is at a very interesting point where technology is definitely driving movie attendances down. You've got a bunch of other things going on that are competing, so yeah, something like Netflix is hugely interesting, and I think the way that people are experiencing and distributing content is going to change dramatically over the next 5 years, and so our goal is to stay on top of that.
Do you have any updates on the Steven Spielberg TV show project?
We are in early production. It's a long time. Hollywood takes a while, so. But it's all good. I mean, and working with Steven is great. When we look at the pieces with Before Dawn and Nightfall, we specifically chose that medium as well because it gave us a lot more flexibility to actually align with stories that we wanted to tell versus doing something bigger than that. We really focus around how do you make that feel like a connected experience, and what are the things we can't tell in a game that would be great to tell backstory elsewhere. So that's kind of how we think about it game to game. When you look at what the channel is and what the channel is trying to bring, you can seamlessly jump into any game that you want. You can do Twitch. You can actually traverse and go into live action or an animated piece or something on the community and back into the game. The user creates their own story, and that's something that we think is super interesting to do with our universe. When we set out to do the Master Chief Collection, the original pitch was sort of a war chest, ship all 4 games separately, package them up. And the team came up with this universal UI, and it is a magical experience when you can pull it all together and when you can seamlessly move across games. But it also was very ambitious. Obviously, we let our fans down, and that's not acceptable. Everything we do in Halo should be a AAA experience. It definitely created huge challenges. When we stumbled, every time we'd fix things, we've got this wrapper that's wrapping 5 engines together. If you would say in hindsight, it would probably have been better just to kind of ship the 4 games separately. And I think that fans would have loved that. We wanted to do more. We wanted it to be this gift to the fans. There are obviously some huge learnings there that it didn't turn out that way. I would say that probably the biggest learning, especially with a new platform, we should have done a beta. Going forward, you will never see a Halo game coming out without a beta. It was obviously painful for our fans and for us, but it won't happen again. There are things we put in place to make sure that we know everything, how it stands up outside and in the wild. The team is very dedicated to making sure that we're solid there.
Is the door open at some point, somewhere down the road, to have Reach included?
The door's always open. I mean, like our whole thing was to kind of put Master Chief's story together, sort of leading up to Halo 5, which is, obviously ODST was never intended to come out. There are no plans right now, but for us with Halo 2 Anniversary, it has to be something that we think we can do more. With Halo Combat Evolved, that was kind of the first step, and when we looked at what we could do with 2, which is kind of why we looked at the whole Master Chief Collection and the Universal UI, like how can we make it more meaningful? So if we come up with ideas for 3, or we feel like we can do something with whatever technology is out there at that time, I think that's always a possibility.